Ornette Coleman. Randolph Denard Ornette Coleman was an American jazz saxophonist, violinist, trumpeter, and composer known as a principal founder of the free jazz genre, a term derived from his 1960 album Free Jazz, a collective improvisation. His pioneering performances often abandon the chordal and harmony-based structure found in bebop, instead emphasizing a jarring and avant-garde approach to improvisation. Born in Fort Worth, Texas, Coleman began his musical career playing in local R&B and bebop groups, and eventually formed his own group in Los Angeles featuring members such as Ed Blackwell, Don Cherry, Charlie Haydn, and Billy Higgins. In 1959, he released the controversial album The Shape of Jazz to Come and began a long residency at the Five Spot Jazz Club in New York City. His 1960 album Free Jazz would profoundly influence the direction of jazz in that decade. Beginning in the mid-1970s, Coleman formed the group Prime Time and explored funk and his concept of harmonic music. Coleman's Broadway Blues and Lonely Woman became genre standards and are cited as important early works in free jazz. His album Sound Grammar received the 2007 Pulitzer Prize for Music. AllMusic called him one of the most important, and controversial, innovators of the jazz avant-garde. Early life. Coleman was born on March 9, 1930, in Fort Worth, Texas, where he was raised. He attended I.M. Terrell High School, where he participated in band until he was dismissed for improvising during the Washington Post March. He began performing R&B and bebop on tenor saxophone and started the Jam Jivers with Prince Lasha and Charles Moffett. Eager to leave town, he accepted a job in 1949 with a Silas Green from New Orleans traveling show and then with touring rhythm and blues shows. After a show in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, he was assaulted and his saxophone was destroyed. He switched to alto saxophone, which remained his primary instrument, first playing it in New Orleans after the Baton Rouge incident. He then joined the band of Pee Wee Crayton and traveled with them to Los Angeles. He worked at various jobs, including as an elevator operator, while pursuing his music career. In California he found like-minded musicians such as Ed Blackwell, Bobby Bradford, Don Cherry, Charlie Haydn, Billy Higgins, and Charles Moffett. He recorded his debut album, Something Else, 1958, with Cherry, Higgins, Walter Norris, and Don Payne. During the same year he belonged briefly to a quintet led by Paul Bley that performed at a club in New York City. By the Time Tomorrow Is the Question was recorded soon after with Cherry, Higgins, and Haydn. The jazz world had been shaken up by Coleman's alien music. Some jazz musicians called him a fraud, while conductor Leonard Bernstein praised him. In 1959 Atlantic released The Shape of Jazz to Come. According to music critic Steve Huey, the album was a watershed event in the genesis of avant-garde jazz, profoundly steering its future course and throwing down a gauntlet that some still haven't come to grips with. Jazzwise listed it number 3 on their list of the 100 best jazz albums of all time. When French philosopher Jacques Derrida interviewed him, Ornette said that Lonely Woman from the album resulted from seeing a rich woman who was in such solitude.